This is Asake Online. Welcome to Agriculture on Site, a program where we speak to and profile people who are involved in agriculture and farming, who make farming their business. My guests this week are horticulture farmers. I meet with Xolile Ndlovu, a horticultural farmer, and Washington Ngirazi, an agronomist. Join me as I speak to them.
My name is Xolile Ndlovu, and I'm a horticulture farmer and also a public health officer. Being a horticulture farmer is come out more compared to a public health.
Interesting, Xolile. From a health officer to a horticulture farmer, what attracted you to farming?
So what attracted me to farming is my husband, who happens to be an agronomist. When I got married to him, first instances I wasn't interested, and I remember I would tell him, but you know what, I'm not going to move to the farm with you. We're gonna have to make arrangements for you to be staying at the farm or be staying in the city, and then we'll be visiting each other. So it happened that we got married in 2020 and there was COVID. So there was lockdown and we were staying at the farm in Matopo. When I started staying at the farm, I started appreciating the farm life, how everything was almost available from our basics. Like now we don't have zesa and water, but at the farm we had water, we had our solar powered watering, and in the house we had solar. And then from there, I'm a foodie. I love food, so I found myself with plenty of food in the farm. Like you wake up in the morning, you've got your fresh milk. They did dairy, they also did horticulture, so you had your vegetables like your spinach, your tomatoes. Then they had broilers, they had layers, so you had your fresh eggs, then you had your chickens. So I got to appreciate the fresh food. Being a public health officer, I love food safety a lot, and I did feed hygiene. So that for me meant something, you know, getting something straight from the source, unaltered, no preservatives, and it's just healthy like that. So with time, working with them through the fields, I appreciated the crops, how they grow, how they respond to how you take care of them. If you water them well, if you feed them well, they respond. If you don't, you will see that the crop is wilting, probably dying. If probably you apply more fertilizer, it dries up. So I then slowly started appreciating farming, and then looking at growing a family and just asking myself, so what does this mean for me? Because also being a public health officer, you also work in the Bundu, eh? Because you are there in the communities, you are working with the community. So I looked at how my husband is working at a farm down in the Bundu, me being also a public health officer down in the Bundu. How do we then come to say, look, let us build a family? So I stayed with him within the COVID period, and I saw many people struggle to get food. But I remember for us, agriculture remained one of the fields that was opened for traveling, because we were the essential workers back then, and we never had troubles with food. We had food at the farm. If I'm to buy food from the shops, was me looking for things like my cereals, you know, my bacon, but I had all the basics at the farm. And back then, the community around me had amaqimbi, so we also had amaqimbi as a delicacy. So the more I stayed in these farms, the more I appreciated the serenity and just having your clear environment, where, you know, how in cities we've got these 200 square meter stands, and I love my space. So the farm gave me that opportunity. And also just seeing amazing people working in the farm, different departments, doing what they love the most.
Right. And coming then to horticulture, how did you actually, what made you choose to actually go into horticulture?
What made me to choose going into horticulture, first and foremost, is because horticulture is the growing of like more of your garden plants, your tomatoes, also your fruits or your ornamental plants like your flowers. So these are high value crops. And as a woman, I would admit I love money. So you find these high value crops, they sell well in the market, and they are high value. Also, they take shorter periods to produce. For instance, your lettuce takes 50 days. In 50 days time, if you tender to it well, you're going to the market to sell it and you're back home. And then it's our everyday basic, like our tomatoes, our onions. I cook these things every day. I use the lettuce to make salads. Our colored peppers, it's our everyday staple that we use to enhance our meals.
Yeah. Today we actually visited you. We are here at your farm. What horticultural crops do you actually grow here?
We grow quite a variety of horticultural crops. We have got tomatoes, we do bell peppers, we do English cucumber, we do the ordinary cucumber, that other shorter one. We do lettuce, we do broccoli, we do cauliflower, yeah, red cabbage and your cabbages as well.
And I note the crops that we have actually mentioned, cucumber seems to be these specialty crops. Why cucumber?
So with the English cucumber, when I started out as a horticulture farmer, my husband, we had already started this project, but I was more of a laid-back person. Then when I finally decided, because I was at work before, and then I got pregnant with my second baby, but the spacing was quite close. So I just discovered I need to be home, but also at the same time, I can't afford to be a stay-at-home mom. We need to work together. So my coming into the field meant that I had to work with my husband, but then I also wanted to do my own thing. So I then looked at the crops that he was currently farming, looked at the market, and then I discovered that English cucumber is a niche market, quite an interesting one, because if you go in our open market, mostly you find the ordinary cucumber. And with time, I've also discovered people who say we do not know an English cucumber. So it being a niche market, usually consumed in hotels, you find it by shops like Ramtage. I then decided to venture into the English cucumber market, also because it's a niche market, it's a high value crop where you can't just grow it anyway. So I wanted, since I was starting, I wanted something small, but being smaller, I didn't want it to be small, but at the same time giving me less money. So I decided to go small, but high value. So your English cucumber, if you go in the shops, you will find it sells at $1 for one fruit. And per plant, you get a range between 15 to 30 crops, depending with how you manage it. Which means that if I've got 700 plants, they give me maybe an average of 20 fruits per plant at $1. But well, I supply at wholesale price, depending on the market price, the minimum being 50 cents when I'm supplying to 70, 80 cents. And if it's scarce, then it can go up to $1. Then for you consumers, then you buy it at $1.50 in the market. So it was a high return and it was work for me and also income at the same time, not interfering with what my husband was already doing.
I'm curious there. You actually mentioned that a cucumber is a high value crop, in particular is English cucumber that you are growing. What kind of crop is this? And what is it used for?
So English cucumbers are mostly used in our salads. You use them in recipes where you're making your green salad. You use them for pickling. They are like now in summer, it's mostly water, just like your watermelon. So for hydration purposes, you use the English cucumber. So in hotels, then it's incorporated into their recipes, mostly for salads.
And then what other opportunities are there actually in growing the English cucumber in terms of marketing, even value addition?
So the other opportunities are making cucumber pickles, which is something that I'm working on, and making cucumber kimchi, which is a Korean dish that I'm yet to work on. But at home, I've started doing pickles. If you go in shops, you find that a pickled bottle of maybe your carrots is very expensive. So that's another opportunity that I'm hoping to explore.
So you're actually growing cash really from your cucumbers, because I want to be. You just mentioned that if one cucumber can sell for $1, if you have got 20,000 plants, I'm thinking what will be smiling all the way to bank. Tell us more about on the marketing. You know, how do you actually market your crop? And
So on the marketing, so usually they say you need to find a market before you can produce. So I approached our supermarkets and the veggie markets. So with the supermarkets, the registration process, it kind of like takes a bit longer. Some of them, they tell you that we have already registered our farmers, we have more than enough, so we can't accommodate you. But I find that places like your vegetable markets that solely focus on fruit and veg, they take English cucumber in large quantities. And then also as a way of marketing, because with time we have more players coming into play, and also you find that at times when you supply, the payment may be late. So as part of marketing, I have a friend whom we have started a fruit and veg shop called Pick It Fresh. We are in town, so I have also created a market again for the crops that we produce here, so that we take to other market, then we take to our shop. Our shop also operating like how these other markets operate. So it's like, this is farmstead, this is the farm. So when we are producing, like you saw how we had lined our crates there to say this consignment is going to so and so, this consignment is going to so and so. So marketing at times can be really, really hectic, because you go there in the market, you might find a buyer, he has his own preferences, there are people whom they prefer, and at times it gets hard for you to get your product taken into the system. So with me, I felt like at times I need to fight for my product to be in the market, because I go in the market, someone tells you that we have enough of this product, but you're looking, there isn't enough of that product, or there isn't quality, because also for us here, we are looking at quality. So I'm like, okay, my cucumber, I'm sure it's very grade A. I did food hygiene, I know, and I've followed the channels. Why are we not getting the product?
Why is it important to actually ensure, as mentioned, one, the issue of quality and safety, you know, in horticulture production?
So the issue of quality and safety is to ensure that the end user gets a good product, a product that adds to their health. Because if we are unhygienic here in our handling of the product, it means with where the product is going, probably we might have consumers getting ill. So you need to ensure quality in the product that you produce, also because you need to have a marketable product. You know, when you go with your product, I've seen when you go with the product in the market, especially our tomatoes, they will be so grade A that at times people think we produce them in the greenhouse, but it will be open field. And naturally, that tomato then doesn't need you to say, people come by. People just come and buy that product. So your quality is also your marketing strategy.
Apart from cucumbers, what other horticultural crops do you actually grow here?
So currently we have bell peppers here, then we have tomatoes, then we have lettuce, then we have the ordinary cucumber, because now we are trying to serve both markets, the niche market and this other open market variety. And then we also have cauliflower at the moment.
What kind of challenges have you actually encountered, you know, in producing, you know, most of these niche crops?
The challenge mostly has been capital, because more like self-funding. Starting when we started the project, we also did not have funding, so we had to sell our car. So we found ourselves being pedestrians. But whoa, when you're doing farming, you need the car. You need to go buy your fertilizers, buy your chemicals. You need to take the produce to the market. So also without a car, it just gets difficult, because with hiring, like last time, I don't have a truck, I had cabbages. to hire a 2-ton truck from here to Ramtage in town. It's like 4.5 kilometers from here. It was costing us $30. So it means that you are forking out more money. And then another challenge that we have had, we have a bigger capacity of doing horticultural farming. But here where we are at, we are renting. So it means that we are also paying money every month. We haven't had access to what we can call our own land. So yes, we are farming, but I would like you to know that we are farming on a very, very limited capacity to what we would like to do. So of late, if you went around this area, you would just realize that every space has been filled in with the crop, because there is no expanding. Expanding means paying more in rentals, which then increases our expenses. So land is also a main challenge. And because land is a main challenge, you see these structures here, we have done wooden structures because they are temporary. So it means I can't invest into permanent structures, just like the cabins. The guys stayed cabins because then I can't put a brick and mortar house for them to stay in, because this is not my place.
And how do you actually hope to overcome, this challenge, given that one already you have started your venture and you have a market?
So I'm hoping from working towards raising funds, maybe to buy land, hoping also to get government land if it's availed, and we go through the processes which we have gone through, but for now nothing has been yielded yet. But we are hoping maybe if we get our own land first, we can then be able to say, from this small space that we are farming, we have had the opportunity to get some funds, and we are still farming and we're still going to get funds to have something permanent, where when I realize some profit here, I can say I'm going to build a structure and have our own farming space, with the idea of maybe finally having a farm where we can be able to share this knowledge with people, to say it's doable. Like you saw, I'm doing a look and learn visit for people to come and see the practicality of these things in the ground, because of late we have seen many adverts and many classes of teaching people farming, mostly theory. But I'm saying I want a space where when you come and my tomato failed, maybe because of frost, we are going to share that. We have a Facebook page that we are running called the Ngirazi Farm Diaries. So it's more of diarizing our farming activities, the wins and the losses and the exciting moments and the sad moments about farming.
To talk to me about your production, what kind of production levels do you actually have here for the various crops? Yeah, like,
we don't have big production levels because obviously our space limits us. The production level that would like to be on, I would say here we haven't been there. But with the small space that we have tried to be on high production level, especially with English cucumbers that we have put in the greenhouses, because currently we have 5 complete greenhouses and we have the 6th one coming through, just to try and beef up. Because with the greenhouse, then it means that you can farm on a smaller space and be able to produce more of a high value quality crop from it, compared to the open field where you want your crops that at times, with tomatoes, other people put it in the greenhouse. But for us, we have chosen not to put it in the greenhouse, because when it goes to the market, at times no one can tell whether this tomato is from the greenhouse and this one is not from the greenhouse. And constructing a greenhouse is also quite costly, looking at something like 4.5 to construct like my 200 square meter greenhouse over there. So you then need to do production that enables you to return back the money that you have invested. So for crops like English cucumber and colored peppers, we put them in the greenhouses or the shade net because they're high value. With your red and yellow pepper, currently in the market, it's ranging between $3 to $4 per kg. So I think in terms of finances, we have tried to beef up our production level by putting high value crops in the greenhouses.
How profitable is really horticulture?
Horticulture is very profitable if done well, but we have had challenges where you find that employment is an issue in my country. So we have more players coming in wanting to be farmers. Some are fly-by-the-night farmers, but well, when they come for that particular period, the market floods and your product goes down. Like what happened with cabbage. Last year, cabbage was ranging between $1, $1.50, $1. There was no cabbage. So I think everyone this year said, let us farm cabbages. So being in the market, I've seen cabbage selling at $1.10 for a nice head of cabbage. For something worth $1 or wholesale price, at most the least should be 50 cents, but it's being sold for $4, $4.10, depending on the quality, because we have had that challenge of the market flooding. So this is when, as a farmer, you say you have planted your crops, you have tended to it well, it's good quality, but come to going to the market, you find that the market is flooded and you won't be able to realize your money, because even if my cabbage is worth $1, I can't then sell it at $1. You go with the market forces.
As a farmer, what informs your planting or your growing choices, for the various crops in horticulture that you grow, so as to avoid the flooding in the market?
So for me, for starters, I've focused more on the English cucumber, because not many can grow it, but some have been able to grow it because strictly it grows in the greenhouse. So unlike the tomato, where you can put your open field, your garden, your tomato will still thrive. So having a greenhouse already, separated greenhouse farmers from those with open field who are still also trying to raise money to build their own greenhouse, probably join us. Number two, I don't have an agricultural background, so I have consulted with an agronomist who is the main advisor on which crops to grow and when to grow, because the agronomist has studied this in depth and they understand the markets, and then he comes with more than 7 years experience in the market. He has worked for other farms and he has seen how the market trends go. And then another one, he has helped me to say, when we are growing, rather than just growing blindly, to say, you know what, I have got 10 hectares of land and I'm going to farm cabbage. If you looked at the market, can the market consume maybe your 300,000 cabbages at one go? It can't. So it's also an issue of sitting down and strategizing. How do I go about it? How do I go about it, like in the market? For me, I've got shops that I supply. So I've sat down and I've produced and I've said to myself, this is what I can supply per day, or also this is what they can take in a particular supply date. So when I'm planting, I'm making sure my crops are staggered. As you have seen, I've got 3 greenhouses that were planted at different times. So should you come in the market with the cucumber and flood it for that particular period, so probably when it floods, then maybe for a month or 2 weeks, after that we are back to the normal price. Because for me, I've got what we call succession plan, to say after this we are going into another crop without ceasing. So there is a period when you realize your profit, and then there is a period that you don't. So if you're a new farmer, probably you're told that a tomato will make you money, and you grow a tomato when it's flooded, you probably will not make money. That's why we have farmers who have come and they have stopped. But for us, we talk with the agronomist every day. We strategize. Also, because now I'm in the market, I see the trends every day and which way to go. We have failed. Like last year, we completely went rock bottom because we only had the tomato plant in the shed net and the greenhouse. Back then we had the shed net and the greenhouse only. And then outside we had the tomato. So we started farming. We did not have a really good market. We were supplying to this one shop that we thought we had a partnership with, and they didn't pay. And in turn, we also had exhausted all our funds. So because they were not paying and you have put your capital in, you did not get returns to then continue. So the tomato plant was affected by diseases, and we had to uproot it before it reached the fruiting level, and we were left with completely nothing. And I remember sitting down, strategizing again to say, what do we do? And then broccoli and cauliflower. That's when we started farming broccoli and cauliflower, because they are less stressing when it comes to managing and inputs. That's how we got back up from the little that we got from that. And then that's when we also started exploring new markets. So right now I've understood that if I supply you, I supply this one and this one, because of the economic challenges. If you can't pay me, the next person can put something. Then the time the next person can put something, you can put something that then aids in buying inputs and to have continuity.
So farmers are people with very strong hearts.
Yeah.
And lots of patience and passion.
Yes.
I'm also keen to find out how important is it for a farmer actually to have know-how and information before actually going real about into farming, like in horticulture.
It's very important to have know-how and expertise so that you don't get shocked at times when your plant doesn't perform according to how you want. There are pests and diseases that affect crops. And if you don't know, you might find your tomato has been affected by tuta absoluta. I think you've seen tomatoes with black spots in the market. And then also, if you don't know how to farm the tomato, I've seen tomatoes with a shorter lifespan. It tampers with your product in the market, and then it also doesn't fetch more, or you can make losses at the farm because you farmed without knowing. So imagine buying seedlings, you paid for them, you bought your fertilizers, also you've got manpower on the ground that are wanting salaries from you every single month, and you are doing the wrong thing. Maybe after 3 months of that crop, you're supposed to start harvesting, but you are not harvesting anything. So you would have made a loss. So for myself, not having a background in agriculture, I just realized it would be important for me to also invest in having someone with expertise to come and help me at the farm, rather than to do trial and error. I know for others it's okay to do trial and error countless times, but I mean, your time is moving and finances are being wasted.
An agronomist is a very special and important someone in the field of agriculture. An agronomist comes with key roles such as designing the fertilizer program, helping in the soil testing, that is sampling, as well as taking the soil sample results to analyze and create the best fertilizer program, which is tailor-made for a particular crop which one wants to grow, depending on their soil types and depending on their areas. Agronomists also comes with very good services, such as helping a farmer to really understand the right varieties to grow and which crops to grow at what season, and also these things, they then get knitted together to look at the better yields or to get optimum yields from that particular crop. Agronomists, they also come in to help with the pests and diseases, how to control them, how to also manage them to minimum levels so that they cannot cause economic damages to the crops. Those are some of the roles of agronomists. It's also to do with also advising on the cultural practices, which is how do you manage the crop, how do you trellis, how do you prune it, how do you keep it in line, because farmers may plant the crop and they need to make sure that the crop behaves in a manner which they want. So agronomists, they come with such expertise to kind of knit them together to come with a desired good crop at the end of the day.
A very packed responsibility for an agronomist, that is.
Thank you.
Here at Farmstead, where you're actually involved in horticulture, tell me more what, how do you, as an agronomist, actually aid in determining the crops that you're actually growing here?
Okay, here at Farmstead, considering the fact that I think Madam Xolile has explained before, that it's quite a small area, and being small, it means there is a high chance of easy outbreak of pests and diseases. So as an agronomist, I come down and sit down with her, and we make a proper plan to make sure that the crops that the farmstead is growing, they are of good crops which don't interfere with each other when it comes to diseases, as well as trying to manage the outbreak of those diseases and pests which would have come out from these crops. As an agronomist, I advise her on which crop to grow at what time of the season, because I know most of the people like her, they don't have the relevant expertise when it comes to choices of crops, how to manage pests and diseases, and actually how to identify them, and which molecule or chemicals do they use to actually spray them. Looking at all those things, I come here at Farmstead and I put them in simpler ways, that is creating a chemical spraying program and make sure that this chemical spraying program is being followed. And mind you, I'm always on the ground here. I make sure that I do the scouting and prescribe according to what is being revealed by the plant. If there is a problem when it comes to fertilizer shortages, you can tell this is sulfur which is lacking here, this is nitrogen which is lacking here. Can we correct it on our fertilizer program? Can we review where we are, so that at the end of the day everything comes out quite nice? Because the ultimate goal of a responsible agronomist is not just to give these talking, but it's also to do and make sure that you get the right quality and the right yield and the right quantities.
You are growing cucumbers, you are growing green pepper and yellow pepper, you have got tomatoes. How do you actually synchronize all of these crops in terms of ensuring that you avoid diseases and pests, and that all the crops can actually produce a good yield?
Well, in what we are doing here, we do what we call crop rotation. So in each and every plot, there is a specific crop which is allocated in that particular portion. And what we do is I create a calendar, and a calendar which actually shows, like for example, we are in this shade net. After this pepper, there is already another crop which is in line to come in here, which is of a different family, and which doesn't share most of the pests and diseases with this pepper. So it's all the same with other plots, and including the greenhouses. And after we have done even our English cucumber production in the greenhouses, we make sure that we also try and fumigate them, that is spraying the fungicides and other insecticides, so that even the next crop that we are to grow in there, it still doesn't get to be affected with some of the remains of whether red spider or whatsoever from that particular crop. And then as of tomatoes, we know that we have got pests like Tuta absoluta. This is a very difficult pest to control. So what we usually do is we do tomatoes almost once and then at one go, and then we finish it. And then we come after probably 4 or 5 months after that, and then we introduce another tomato crop. We cannot stagger our tomatoes because we cannot have a big crop and a smaller crop nearby each other. The problem is Tuta can come from the bigger crop attacking the smaller crop, which is also a huge disadvantage which Madam Xolile has at Farmstead, because you don't have to isolate your fields through distance. So you are continuously restricted to produce one crop at a cycle, like especially when we're looking at tomato, because that's where we have got very difficult pests to control. But things such as English cucumbers and other things like broccoli, cauliflower, they are not problematic. We always rotate them in these smaller spaces that we have.
And I noticed that when you mentioned that you have to do crop rotation to actually prevent or avoid these pests and diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using a lot of, how do you actually really control the pests? Is it more, do you use a lot of chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
or do you use any other,
All right.
means that, do not involve the application of chemicals?
All right. I think for our crops that we have here, like I said, tomato is the most difficult one because it has got a lot of pests that we have. So for the pests that we have, we use chemicals to control them. And then when we are using chemicals, and we also try to make sure that our crop is as healthy as possible. A healthy crop which is very good in fertilizers, we use our manure, and well taken care of, including the issue of watering. It can also create some level of withstanding the pressure of pest and disease, unlike a crop which is not well taken care of. So in tomatoes, we also use things like traps to trap our tutor so that we reduce the population of that particular pest. But however, most of our crops, we use our normal fungicides and we use our normal insecticides as per scouting and as per recommendation. We scout and then we see if there is a problem of that particular pest, and we look at the levels of it. We don't just say when we see 10 aphids, we're picking a bottle to go and spray, but we look at the level of infestation, and those are the ones that actually determine on what action can we take further.
Well, what tips could you actually give to any farmers who will be interested in actually going into horticulture farming in terms of the best practices that they must adhere to?
I think horticulture is one of the difficult enterprise to actually venture into, but when you master the art, it's actually a very good and paying enterprise. People should invest in having qualified and knowledgeable people in their areas. What it means is you avoid incidents of losses due to pests and diseases, because any person can be a farmer. She is a farmer, but she is not a qualified farmer. So she doesn't understand some of the pests and diseases which come along the way. So as an agronomist, my role is also to explain and to help her. This is the pest, this is what. So this is also what is lacking to many horticultural farmers around, especially Bulawayo and Zimbabwe. So in order for people to actually do well, they need to invest in extension services that is also getting the help. They invest in the right varieties, and also they invest in the right, I can say, package of inputs, where you need your chemicals, you need your fertilizers. You need, when you talk of chemicals, it's not just these synthetic ones. You can also go biological means of controlling, where you use other living organisms to actually control that particular pest or disease that will be there in your field, which is what is lacking. But eventually, I think we are getting there through the help of people like us who come in to encourage and also to help these horticultural farmers, whether big or small. They need an agronomist to actually lead the way and lead the charge in terms of how to look at the soil, how to determine the nutrients, how to determine the deficiency in the soil, how to interpret the soil, and also how to make sure that we're actually doing the proper farming, which is the spacing, the watering, the choice of varieties and things like that. And also the planning of a yearly calendar, because horticulture is all year round production and people cannot just farm today and then stop tomorrow. We need to continuously farm. So that's also one thing about horticulture, which small scale farmers or big farmers can actually take to.
Yeah. How has it been for you, noting that you are an agronomist and your wife is actually the farmer here in the horticulture, sector, as she's already explained.
Yeah.
Did you actually, how did you complement each other's roles in this enterprise?
We actually complement very well. From what I've seen, she is learning from me, and I also learn from her. But the complementary part is also great in the sense that, to me, I find this place very, very tiny because of my level of experience and my level of farming. That is why I also do other extension service. But the complementary part is, she comes with a problem, we sit down, we knit it together, we address it. She sees good varieties in the market. There is this variety, and then we come together, we look at it. Is it possible to actually grow it here? What do we need? Should we put another greenhouse? Should we put a shade net? Those are some of the things that I find interesting working with her, because she's also ambitious. Upcoming farmers, they always want to do many things at once, but it's that gap which I also feel in to say, don't take it too much, take it slowly, and you develop gradually. You'll find that very soon you'll be doing bigger things, but you are starting small.
Horticulture farming is not for the faint-hearted, but it is a great business opportunity for those who undertake it. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with horticultural farmers today. This is Asake Online and Agriculture on Site. Join me in my next program, where I speak to other farmers who make farming their business.